So I was talking to a male friend of mine the other day, and he told me that women don't apologize and women can't be held accountable. And I began to really think deeply about this idea. And one of the things that came across my mind is in the last 9 months or so of me being in my private practice, I have myself experienced many women, whether they came in as a couple or they came by themselves, they very abruptly discontinued their therapy. And I started to reflect and really think, what was going on here? And I noticed that after I had to confront them about something, I had to bring to their attention something they were doing that wasn't contributing to the health of the relationship, they became very defensive and very, just very harsh, and they stopped coming. And even though the husband would continue to come, he made it very clear that, yeah, she won't apologize. She thinks you're wrong. She thinks you're taking my side. And I began to really reflect, like, oh my gosh, is it true that women don't apologize? Is it that women struggle with being held accountable? I'd love your thoughts on this. Me personally, I think it has to do with a person's level of emotional maturity. What do you think?
I don't really know if this is my last time, but what I know is I'm feeling just fine. My life is like a rap carpet, and I'm feeling like the richest millionaire. This is my local mayor, and I'm the biggest star around here. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving, right? Subscriber died trying. You see the thumbnail, you see the clip. Kevin Samuels used to always talk about we need therapy. And whether it's a real clip or a fake clip, because sometimes, some of those therapist things are real and some of them are fake, right? The therapist, like, the sisters don't want to be accountable for anything. They hear hear that they have to work on something and they bail. And this is not anything new. This is something that has been talked about for years, that, even when guys would go to marriage counseling, if the counselor agrees with the guy, they need to find a new counselor. They would always find somebody who would agree with the woman. And the issue is what? You have, how can I say this? We have a psychological disorder in America, and I'm talking about Black America specifically right now with this, where the disorder isn't that the women are dysfunctional. The disorder is actually that people have Stockholm syndrome to toxic femininity or toxic Black women. It's okay. It's, we have to find a reason to make it okay. We have to find something that triggered her to be out of pocket. We have to find a story that we can roll with that can justify all of these negative actions, right? And what happens when you don't find anything? What happens when you don't find anything and you go, this person's just dead wrong? And there's nothing I could say but, hey, you're dead wrong. And then guess what? Well, if you tell me I'm wrong, I'm out of here. And for somebody who's a therapist to go, it took me a while to check out the pattern. That's problematic. If you're a Black woman and you're a Black woman and you've been around Black women your whole life and you do therapy and it didn't dawn on you that Black women don't like accountability until a guy, a man told you that, and then you had to put it to your own practice and go, whoa, wait a minute. Remember what he said? They are leaving. They're not coming back. When they're confronted with something they got to do this, they don't actually take accountability. Oh my goodness. He possibly could be right. Yeah, duh. And that's the issue, like, as far as, like, do we need therapy? Yeah, but guess what? These people aren't going to utilize it. See, we can get therapy when it's everybody else's fault. Sisters, and I might be speaking presumptuously for sisters, but when it's everybody else's fault, the therapy is good. But when it's your fault, I don't need no therapy. Forget all that. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. Like you may have people who have like, let's just say, eating disorder could be a mental issue, right? Something happened to you as a child, it caused you to eat all the time, or you got something happened to you in life and your response was to eat all the time. You ate yourself into morbid obesity, right? And then somebody says, "Hey, man, okay, we fixed, let's fix where this actually started," and you get that place to a mental place of health, of help, where they can deal with what happened to them and get and not necessarily get over it, but get past it. But then they're still morbidly obese because they like the comfort of the life that they've built for them that's dysfunctional. You can't, therapy ain't gonna be able to get them out of that. And my point I'm making is our community and our women are comfortable in the dysfunction. A lot of them don't want anything else. And that's why you're seeing, even on social media, bringing the dysfunction everywhere, whether it's men, women, and children of all other within the race and outside of the race. You've seen the ladies in Dubai getting in trouble. They're just going out of the country, just getting in trouble. You're seeing women having just losing it, just in stores and Walmarts, just weird stuff. Like, what are you doing? You're seeing these women and kids having all these issues that excuse me, that they created. You're seeing them do criminal activity and just act like nothing's wrong. You see them attempting to kill people, killing people, hitting people with cars because they cheated, and killing a innocent bystander and acting like, oh, it's okay. You're seeing them, just get sent to prison or jail or whatever you want to call it for faking themselves being kidnapped. And people just don't want to say it. Hey, man, what happens when therapy doesn't work because therapy has constructive criticism? What happens when your therapist says you got to do X, Y, Z because you're doing wrong in this instance, and you walk off? We can even, we can go down that road of religion and church. People use church and God as therapy, and guess what? The church ain't gonna listen. That the women ain't gonna listen. God ain't in the God isn't in the equation. God is in the equation when, the ish hits the fan. And all of the wrongdoing is like, I need a bailout package now. I need a bailout plan. Like, God, come in here now. You know what I'm saying? I need you now. And when you done, you got to go. But the pastor sitting there like, well, you know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna put no money in collection plate if we don't put up with this dysfunction. And a lot of people have gotten rich like that. Let's just be honest with you. Because once we have to deal with the fact that the women are their issues of being dysfunctional are a big problem, but the bigger problem is we accept it, we take it. We play dumb and delusional, act like it doesn't exist. We don't push back on it. We make excuses for it. We enable it as a community. And I'm not just talking about family and friends as while I'm using the therapist. We're talking about family. We're talking about friends. We're talking about therapists. We're talking about doctors. We're talking about lawyers. We're talking about, police officers. We're talking about judges in, courts. We're talking about, what would you call that? Financial institutions. Employers. Just okay, well, they just gonna do that. It's like, oh, okay. So now we're living in a society that doesn't necessarily have as much time and money to overlook the shenanigans, because we have to be faced with people who are out of pocket. And if a therapist can't help you because you don't want it, society can't either. And thus, this increasing prison population of women, who most of them think they don't belong in jail, but they do. So I'm going to leave it at that. You tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Excuse me about that. Peace.
All I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, know I gave you everything I had.